Well, hello everybody. My name's Dan Martin. I'm editor of businesszone.co.uk and founder of The Pitch. And I'm joined today by Mark Pearson, the founder of My Voucher Codes and a long-term UKBF member who's going to take some questions posed by the UKBF community. So, hello, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us, Mark. Well, before we get kicked off with all the questions that have come flooding in from the UK Business Forum's members, I just thought just to set the scene, do you just want to give us a sort of brief overview of your story from, particularly on My Voucher Codes, from idea to the recent sale?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll make it brief because it's a long story. But essentially, I started off the business 7 years ago. Literally started at my bedroom. It was just me with an idea. I had £300 to outsource the idea on a website called Rent-A-Coder at the time. It was a minimal viable product, as we call it nowadays, a very simple version of a website. The website gained a little bit of traction. It scaled. I reinvested every single penny it made back into the business. I ended up scaling the business to 80 odd employees over the course of 7 years. We were in 9 territories. And in June this year, I exited the business for £55 million. So, pretty special, nice story.
That's a very brief whistle-stop tour, but that's brilliant. Well, going on to the UKBF. UK Business Forums questions. For those that don't know, UK Business Forums is a big forum that we run, as well as Business Zone and The Pitch. And Mark joined UK Business Forums in 2005, before all this happened, and we've gone back into the archives and found your very first thread. And looking back in the archives, Mark, you had various ideas for businesses, including dog vending machines and printed petals, so you could print marketing messages onto flowers. And UKBF member Daz Rave has asked, whatever happened to those ideas?
So actually, yeah, wow, the doggy vending machine. Wow, that's a good idea. I like it. I forgot all about that. But, wow. So I might do that one actually. So, literally on them ideas. I believe I once asked a question on that forum to say, has anyone got a business idea I can do? And I feel a bit naive looking back at that. So it's interesting because as if anyone's going to go, oh yeah, here you go, Mark, I've got it on a plane. You can go and you can build it, you can launch it. It doesn't work like that, right? But, I was young, I was looking for opportunity, I was hungry. So lots of ideas. There's always 101 ideas. Even today, I have 101 ideas of what I could do tomorrow. But actually, one of the businesses you mentioned, so the printer petal business, I actually did launch. It was my first online business. So the history goes something along the lines. I moved down to London when I was 18. I got a job in Claridge's as a chef. I was trained as a chef. I stayed there for a little while. I left and started working for a little startup in South London, a startup restaurant. I got offered an opportunity from someone else who had their own pubs, and I ended up running my own restaurants at the age of 21, 22. And I ended up having 3 little restaurants in South London and Clapham. So I was making money. I was a little businessman. And I struggled to scale them businesses. When it was a part-time job for the waiters and waitresses, when the chefs are very temperamental, as they are, I am one, I used to be one, it's very hard to run, and I was running 3 different venues, and I come to this crunch point where literally I was struggling to scale it. Chef didn't turn up, waitress didn't turn up, and I couldn't the business closed, some venue closed. Very frustrating. I think one of the things I ended up actually doing was thinking, how do I scale? Because I've got the energy, I've got the passion, I've got the drive, I want to be successful, but how do I scale? And for me, the answer was the internet. So the first idea I picked from all them ideas, maybe, thank God I picked that one and not others. So essentially, I picked the Roses, and the business was called Roses by Design. It was a small retail business. I outsourced it using that platform such as Freelancer. Outsourced it. I remember an Australian lady built it for me for about $600. She built a retail website fully end to end. I took the product pictures. The bravest decision I made was I think the product was $3,000, but I bought it from China. So there was no such thing. No such thing as Alibaba then. There probably was, but it was nowhere as big as it is today. So essentially, I'd outreach to some website supplier I found on the internet. I think I'd email them. I didn't even speak to them. They sent me the details. I wired some money over to them. I was waiting patiently for this package to arrive, which was my Petal laser printer. So essentially, it did arrive. I had the website. I could finally produce the product, and I was in business. Do you want me to tell you a little bit more about what happened thereafter?
Yeah, I think the members are very interested in the petals. So yeah, what happened to that business in the end?
So I did grow that business, and literally I was a one-man machine of producing the product, marketing the product, running the site, being the customer service, running the product down daily to the post office, literally, because it wasn't that big a business. It was more, small business, but it was what it was valuable for in a stepping journey was for me understanding different areas of marketing. So I knew the product. Online marketing, it taught me a real hands-on approach. So I was doing SEO, I was doing paid search, I was dabbling in social media, I built an email list, email user base. I started dabbling in affiliate marketing. So I launched an affiliate program for a retailer. I was dabbling in coupon codes, voucher codes, which funny enough is kind of what got us to where we are today. So, and there's a story that happened essentially. That business was doing well. I discovered a whole new area of business, which was affiliate marketing. From that business, I realized that a good place to be a very scalable business was to be a publisher, where versus I was being the retailer, which has got the product. Remember, it was a fresh product, flowers, how long did it last for, shelf life, wastage, etc. Customer service, I realized I was in a very seasonal business, which was really challenging. Valentine's Day, massive orders. Mother's Day, massive orders, rest of the year, not so busy. So it was really hard to grow and shrink. So what I ended up doing simply was literally dabbling in the publishing side. I spotted an opportunity in America. Coupons were massive in America. There were websites dedicated to coupons. I looked around, literally no one was doing it in the UK. I launched a pretty basic proposition called My Voucher Codes in 2006. It caught on quite quickly. I launched it in November. Christmas, it got viral. I actually promoted it to my flower customers initially to say, here you go, all these discounts for you to save money online. It did really well and scaled up. And very quickly, by December, it was making me more money and actually bigger margin than the flower business was. So the flower business very quietly disappeared as I put more and more energy into the voucher business.
Well, I think the members, though, will be happy that the flower idea did work, but maybe the vending machines for dogs is still in the future.
Do you know what? Never say never.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Stones is somebody else that's asked a question, and he said, when running your business, and I guess he's probably referring to My Voucher Codes, what would you say was the single biggest mistake that you made?
Wow, I think, I tend to be a really positive person, and I've got this magic thing where I forget stuff really easy. So I'd be lying to say it was a wonderful journey all the way, because there's probably a world of pain I've been through and hurdles and times I've fallen and stumbled. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. Let me dig a bit deeper. Biggest mistake. I won't call this a mistake, but in the early years of the business, there was an opportunity for me to take VC money. So essentially, I had a big VC at the table wanting to offer me double-digit millions investment to scale the business internationally, and I ended up growing my business organically, and I was literally the 100% shareholder of the business all the way to the sale. So that's valuable, but at the same time, the sector got very competitive. We had big players in America, which I think one of the competitors had 300 million investment. We had one of my competitors got acquired by Vodafone, who have got hundreds of millions of users. So in the early days of my business, could my business have been bigger today by me taking VC money and me maybe going on acquisition spree myself? Maybe. But it's not a big regret. It's just you look back thinking, what if? Because actually, one of my big US competitors is worth $1 billion today. So, I'm worth 55. I'm happy with my result, but, what could have been? But, it's not necessarily regret, but you can always look back and say, could you have done things differently?
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy with 55 as well, to be honest. I think you should be happy with that.
Yeah.
This is sort of linked that Tabish has asked lots and lots of questions, but a lot of it is to do with managing cash and managing cash flow and dealing with debts, and you talked about you sort of funded it yourself without external investors. So can you talk about how you manage the sort of cash side of the business?
So, I mean, my skill set, I'm a bit of a visionary. I like to kind of look at opportunities and kind of see where business opportunities lie. I love product. I put my heart and soul into building the product, perfecting the product, adding new features. I am the marketing machine. That's where my skill sets lie. I'm not very technical, and I'm literally in the scale of what I'm good and bad at. I'm really bad at all things finance. So you can give me a spreadsheet, show me the results of the business, I can get it top level, go into the nitty gritty. Currently, I'm in a position where I hire people to look after and give me the overview, but it's always been a weak point for me. I wasn't very academic in school. If it wasn't for a calculator and a spell checker, we probably wouldn't have even made this call today because I wouldn't know where it was and when it was. But I believe I put my skills in, accentuate in the areas where I do well, the areas I do badly. So finance-wise and kind of accountancy, that's never been a strong area for me. Very early on, I took on an accountancy company who helped me deal with that. So essentially, it was an area I wasn't going to do very well. I essentially just ran the business and made it happen. I paid what needed to be paid. I got invoices, etc. in and out. But it quickly needed to be managed by someone professionally, and ever since it's been managed for me. But I keep a close eye on the P&L, top level numbers where I focus the business, and that's how I've scaled it.
Obviously, you joined UKBF very early on in your business career, and you've said it's sort of played a role in your business growth. So do you want to outline how UKBF helped you?
Yeah. So essentially, I always say to every interview and everyone I speak to, UK Business Forum was so important for me early on, and it ended up getting to a point where I would use it as my right-hand man. I would literally ask questions, and I look at it. It's crowdsourced of information. You write a question, and there's so many valuable people there with lots of experience who are actually willing to share and help. And it's really important because if everyone was selfish, no one would help each other and no one would answer. But a community like that, really valuable. So specifically, I've still worked with my accountants that I found on UK Business Forum today. I found a PR company there. I found stationery companies there. When I was looking for services and I was looking for advice, I would literally either trawl through previous posts or I would actually work and find this answer. So actually, you've seen the history yourself. It's all there. It was really valuable to me, and where would I have found that information otherwise? So kind of it's a big thank you, but it's a great place for start out entrepreneurs and not just necessarily start out. As you evolve your business, there's always questions. And I've got this philosophy over the years where as long as you win more times than you lose, I think you're going to be successful. And actually win, in my sense, is making sure you make the right decision, making sure you get the right partner or you get the right service in place. Because actually, if you've got all them headaches, you're not going to progress forward and be successful.
Brilliant. We've had a couple of people sort of ask this, but NZT48 has asked if you went into business now, as if you were starting out as a brand new entrepreneur, what business would you start?
It kind of interestingly, I kind of can and am in that position again. So yeah, versus now versus at the very beginning. I think I wake up every morning excited at the opportunity of the internet and mobile. It's just the immense scale. And even when I started the business in 2006, it's grown so much more. It's so much easier to get international business nowadays. So literally, I wake up buzzing every day at the opportunity. I just haven't got enough time to do everything. So, what business would I do? An online mobile business, pretty cheap to start. I outsourced an idea, a few £100s. There's not many people that can't afford that as a starting point. I mean, even if you haven't got the money, friends and family, there's loans, there's crowdfunding nowadays. So there's great opportunity. If you've got an idea, I'd literally go for it. What sector would I go in? I think I've talked it'd be online and mobile, definitely. Kind of jump in feet first. Think of an area. Think of any business. I mean, I tend to see people, they have lots of ideas and it's homing in on one. Even today, I'll sit down and assess several ideas and look at the value. It depends what you want out of it, but you've got to look at competition, you've got to look at viability, how much is it going to cost to launch, etc., etc. Choose the one that feels right for you. Choose the one that's achievable versus the one that's maybe next to impossible. Because I love the fact people might think massive and a massive opportunity and let's reach for the stars. But if you think you might risk and stumble and fail, where does that leave you? It might leave you in a worse position than where you started. So actually, I've managed to be successful by taking a step-by-step approach, kind of looking at it as a ladder. And, we talked about the restaurant business I ran when I was 20. It was more or less a gastro pub and I ran the kitchen. It was a business. It was very cash business, but it wasn't making lots of money. But that led me on to the opportunity to have enough money to start my first online business, which was the pedal business. That didn't cost much money, a couple of £1,000s to start, and it made tens of thousands of pounds. That led me on to this business, which turned into millions of pounds of turnover. So it doesn't really matter what business you do. Don't look at it as an end, look at it as a start. Does that make sense?
It does. That's perfect. A question from me. Obviously, you're running My Voucher Codes for a long time. It's your thing, and then you sold it. So how did you make that decision? Why did you think? How did you decide the time was right to let it go?
Yeah, so business 7 years old, and literally it flew by. I'm still today the first person in the office and the last one out, and I love that because I want to set and lead by example. So it coming to a point where it was time to think about where this business should go. The business, you got to understand what was going on behind the scenes. The business has grown very successfully. We had about 80 staff. We're in 9 countries. It's great. But how do we go to the next level? And every business has got challenges. And I don't mind talking. Our own business had challenges. We had a lot of competition. We had a lot of people with deeper pockets. Even Facebook were dabbling doing offers. Google are dabbling doing offers. These are big, scary competitors, right? So the big area for me is our business was going very mobile. So a lot of users, like a lot of online businesses, are going towards mobile. Mobile's harder to monetize and it's a lot harder to scale because it's location based across the whole of the UK, across the whole of the world. So the reason and how I could continue to scale the business is partner with someone bigger. So it kind of got to a point where to keep on winning, and winning for me is my personal business and it's my baby that I launch. But actually, I've got a team here of 80 people who have followed that journey, built the business. I don't want them to be stagnated in a business where we probably struggle to scale on our own to the super size we need to be. So actually being part of a bigger entity, whoever or however that would have worked out, and there was a plan, I'll talk about that, but essentially it helps us open up the opportunity. So I really feel we can catapult the competition. Actually we can, not catapult's the wrong word, we can kind of jump over the competition where we can get so many more eyeballs now at scale and we can be the leader in mobile. So I don't know if you know anything about Monetize, but they've got 350 kind of partners worldwide, tend to be in the financial, so banking, etc. They've all got eyeballs. There's a real magic about partnering My Voucher offer business with their business and the opportunity of what that can bring. So, the biggest, I didn't know how I'd feel when I sold my business. And to be honest, it was a little bit of an anticlimax. I sat in the lawyers. I've been up for literally 24 hours. It was 6 a.m. We had to sign. It was pre-6 a.m. We had to sign by 6. I'd signed, and that was it. Nothing had really changed. So that was that. I was like, okay, that was great. So then I come back to the office, and that was the bit which made me kind of proud, I think, and kind of happy. So even though it was a business, I'm thinking in, oh, it's sold, it's not mine anymore. I can't really call all the shots. That's a kind of quite a big thing. But actually, one of the nicest things was announcing it to the team and really emphasizing the opportunity and the scale of how we can build this out and how we can really take it to the next level. Even today saying it, it's given me pride and kind of seeing the business scale. In next year's time, it would be nice to think where it could be.
Mm. So, as part of the, don't go into all the details, but as part of the deal, are you you're staying involved then? Are you with the company?
Yeah, so a few days a week, I'm still involved. I mean, it's a pretty entrepreneurial business. We're very innovative. We've always kept that. That's come from me. It's come from the team. But specifically, Monetize wanted to keep that in place. So we keep on doing the same thing we do. We can just do it on a bigger scale. So I'm very much involved here. The deal is I can also do some of my own things. So I think you already know, over the years, I've invested in several other businesses. So some of my working week is involved in managing them other businesses scale and grow, and also I've got other ventures that I'm going to be rolling out in 2015 myself.
Right. So the work never ends. It's constant.
Yeah, it's great, but I don't see it as work. I mean, I actually love what I do, and I kind of pinch myself most days to think, not every day, but at least once a week, kind of just to think about I did never visualize myself kind of here and this opportunity that I've got. I can launch a great exit of a great business. I didn't ever see myself here, from that chef that was on 16K a year that couldn't make ends meet working in Claridge's. It's a great story, but actually it's achievable. I really think it's achievable for anyone, but the opportunity ahead for me is, let's do something better. That's why I wake up every day and come in buzz and wanting to do something greater, more exciting, like doggy vending machines.
Watch this space. Dogvendingmachines.com. Maybe you should claim it quickly. Just the final question, really, because obviously UKBF members and anybody can come and see you on stage at the pitch in Bristol on the 23rd of October, where you'll be talking more about your story. But you mentioned that you're an investor now as well, and you invest in other businesses. There'll be hundreds of small businesses at the pitch who are potentially looking for people like you. What is it you look for in other businesses that you decide to invest in?
Yeah, so I love investing in other businesses, and the reason is, and I made that decision a couple of years ago. I started to do lots of different businesses myself, and I quickly realised that spreading myself too thin was just a recipe for disaster, because to do something, you've got to focus and do it really well. And it wasn't until I realised that was I smart enough to kind of understand. I ended up closing a lot of the little businesses I launched, wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of money. But then I realized the recipe of success and growing value, I've got some cash. I actually like the enjoyment of investing in a business and see it grow and nurture it with somebody. So I've got to, number one, I've got to get on well with the person. It's kind of, I'll lay on the ground kind of how I am. I'll lay on the table and explain. I'm kind of a bit nosy. I'm a bit pushy. If you're going to work with me, I'm going to expect you to reach for the stars every day. I'm going to expect them long hours. So it's a very different type of person who's going to be that hungry to achieve success. But I'm looking for kind of businesses that have got good growth opportunities, in big markets, and most importantly, have you got traction? Because it's so easy to invest in an idea. They are highly risky. I still do that occasionally if I think the idea is going to blow it away. But I tend to look for someone that's actually got off their ass, if I can say that. They've made something happen, and they've started to prove the model. Because actually they've taken some time risks, they've taken some money risks, and if they're going to come and ask me for cash, I'll give them the cash once they prove, and I'm not saying they've got to make it and build it, but prove it's working. It makes my money investment a bit safer. But you know what? It's a journey for both people, or all the people involved in the business. It's pretty exciting. It's better than being employed. It's really exciting. So I'm hoping I find some great businesses.
Brilliant. So if you're interested in that and you fit those criteria, come and meet Mark at the pitch final on the 23rd of October in Bristol. If you go to thepitch.uk, you can buy a ticket for only a tenner It's a no-brainer. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us. It's a fascinating story, and there's plenty more to talk about. So I look forward to seeing you in Bristol. But we'll see you then. Thank you very
Great.
much.